Deborah, a judge and prophetess. Deborah's story is told in Judges chapter 4 and 5. She listened to God and not to the political figures or situation of her day. In the ancient world, it was most unusual for a woman to hold a political office. But God uses everyone and gives them the talents needed to carry out His will. Deborah is upset with Israel, who has again fallen into idolatry as a result of not following God's commandments. Wise leaders are rare. They accomplish a great amount of work without direct involvement because they know how to work with people. They are able to see the big picture, the global picture, that often escapes those directly involved. So they make good mediators, advisors, and planners. Deborah fit this description perfectly. She had all these leadership skills, and she had a remarkable relationship with God. The insight and confidence God gave this woman placed her in a unique position in the Old Testament. Her life story shows that she wasn't power hungry. She wanted to serve God. Whenever praise came her way, she gave God the credit. Her story shows that God can accomplish great things through people who are willing to be led by Him. Her country was oppressed for 20 years by Canaanite rulers whose chief warrior was Sisera. Deborah shows us how to be available to both God and to others. She encourages us in our efforts to achieve goals rather than worrying about what we can't do. Deborah dares us to be wise leaders. She shows what a person can accomplish when they allow God to be in control. Judges chapter 4, verse 1 and following. After Ehud's death, however, Israel again offended the Lord. So the Lord allowed them to fall into the power of the Canaanite king, Jabin, who reigned in Hazor. He, Jabin, had 900 iron chariots. Chariots were the tanks of the ancient world. They had razor-sharp knives extending from the wheels designed to mutilate helpless foot soldiers. Israel was not powerful enough to defeat such an invincible army. Judges chapter 4, verses 4 to 7, Deborah's prophecy. Jabin's oppressive rule lasted 20 years. Joshua had defeated a king by that name years earlier and burned the city of Hazor to the ground. If Israel had obeyed God in the first place and had driven out the Canaanites from the land, this incident would not have happened. Jabin's army commander was named Sisera. God revealed to Deborah that it is time to end Jabin's rule. In Judges 4, 8 and following, we see Deborah enlist the help of Barak, but he is afraid. Barak said to her, "If you will go with me, I will go. But if you will not go with me, I will not go." She said, "I will surely go with you. Nevertheless, the road on which you are going will not lead to your glory, for the Lord will sell Sisera into the hand of a woman." How did Deborah command such respect? She was responsible for leading the people into battle, but more than that, she influenced them to live for God after the battle was over. Her personality drew people together and commanded the respect even of Barak, a military general. She was also a prophet whose main role was to encourage the people to obey God. Now Heber, the Kenite, had separated from the Kenites, the descendants of Hobab, the father-in-law of Moses, and pitched his tent far away as the oak in Zaanannim, which is near Kadesh. Why separate from your friends? Heber was Jael's husband. He was from the Kenite tribe, a longtime ally of Israel. But for some reason, Heber decided to side with Jabin, maybe because Jabin's army appeared to have the military advantage. Although Heber threw his lot with Jabin, his army and his wife Jael did not. When Sisera was told that Barak, the son of Abinoam, had gone up to Mount Tabor, Sisera called out his chariots, 900 chariots of iron, and all the men who were with him. And Deborah said to Barak, "Up! For this is the day in which the Lord has given Sisera into your hand. Does not the Lord go out before you?" So Barak went out from Mount Tabor with 10,000 men following him. Barak was victorious in the battle, just as God had told Deborah. Sisera ran away to Heber and hid in the tent of Heber's wife, Jael. Sisera couldn't have been more pleased when Jael offered him her tent as a hiding place. First, because Jael was the wife of Heber, a man loyal to Sisera's forces. He thought she certainly could be trusted. Second, because men were never allowed to enter a woman's tent. No one would think to look for Sisera there. Sisera had fallen asleep, but Jael, the wife of Heber, took a tent peg and took a hammer in her hand, and went softly to him, and drove the peg into his temple till it went down into the ground, as he was laying fast asleep from weariness. So he died. Again, as Deborah had predicted, Sisera fell to a woman, not to Barak. Music and singing were a cherished part of Israel's culture. Chapter 5 is a song sung and possibly composed by Deborah and Barak. It proclaims God's greatness by giving him credit for the victory. It was an excellent way to preserve and retell this wonderful story from generation to generation. Deborah was the fourth and only female judge of Israel. She was an outstanding mediator, advisor, and counselor. When called to lead, she was able to plan, direct, and delegate. Her prophetic power and relationship with God were her strengths.